want to welcome everyone to this evening's webinar. I'm Scott Anderson with Agri-Best Feeds, and working with our host and moderator, Justin Mills, who will be on here in just a little bit. Well, actually, I guess you're here, Justin.
Yep, I am here, Scott, so I could sure do it if you'd like.
All right, so I'm going to also bring up a screenshot. If you want to kind of talk through the screenshots and how to, I'll let you go ahead and introduce Aaron, and I'll run the slides on this end.
You bet. Well, we want to thank everybody for joining us and being patient with us. As if you joined us last week, we've got a new system that we're kind of working on. It's got some great features and some great things, so we are excited to be able to use it, but there's a little bit of a learning curve, I must add, too. So, but we do thank everybody for joining us on tonight's webinars. We talk about seed minerals for soil health, and we've had some previous webinars in regards to this. And I know we're in January, but I tell you what, if anybody's around farmers at all, and being around in my whole life as well, about this time of the year, things start getting a little antsy about when we're going to get out in the fields. And if there's a good time, now is a good time to talk about some things that we can do in regards to soil health. And tonight we're going to be talking just a little bit more about that. But we are glad to have you here with us as well. And as we kind of go through tonight's webinar, I want to invite you to be, we're going to open it up and give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have for our presenter or any of our hosts and folks that are on as well. Various ways that you can ask questions, and you can do that. You can down in the chat area is a way for you can type your questions out there. You can type those questions out, and then you can we'll be able to ask those on air to our presenter. And so easy way for you to do that and have that dialogue back and forth with as you can see Scott there kind of showing you how to go through those elements there to do the chat period for us, and that'll allow you to ask questions. But without, we're going to kind of move now into our presenting part of this, and we're glad to have Aaron joining us from Redmond Minerals, and there you can see kind of a screenshot of their home base down in Utah. And Aaron, he's joined us before in our webinars. We're pleased to have you here with us again tonight as we talk about seed minerals for soil health. And at this point in time, Aaron, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Justin. It's a pleasure to be back with you guys. This is pretty exciting to talk about tonight. We've got quite a few slides and pictures and graphs we're going to look at. We won't spend a whole lot of time on any particular one, just a few of them. But every year we're getting more and more to talk about. And we're kind of excited about some of the results we've been seeing, and so tonight we'd like to share that. I think the technical difficulty is at my end. We've been having fits with our computer system here, so apologize about that, but I'll try and give enough verbal clue that you guys can advance the pictures, the same ones I'm looking at here. So the next slide after the Redmond Mineral Office there, I just got a few slides here to show you a little bit of the country if any of you haven't had the chance to be down in our severe valley down in the middle of Utah. The next picture there is just a picture of some of those big salt piles you can see are the ones we use for the industrial usage. The highway de-icer mainly is what you're looking at there. The warehouse where all of your trucks load is the big yellow thing there, and the shop, just all that under the flag. The next picture is just another view from the other side, from what the last view you just saw. And this picture, besides the white on that, you can see as the salt ages over summer, and we've had such poor winters the last couple of winters, what we call poor, not enough snow. We've got a lot of old piles there too, and as you know, this will turn white left in the air and getting the rain and snow on it. But in the foreground of this picture is some of the piles of the clay that's being mined, which becomes your Redmond conditioner. So we excavate that out. We put it out there on the pad and thin it out to dry it down and get it ready to crush down to size and screen out to your Redmond conditioner bag there. So that's what that is in the foreground. The picture after that is just one of the main portals that we use to enter the salt mine, and that's just kind of a neat shot. We had a reporter out here that took a few of these pictures, and she was out there hanging on the edge of that cliff there, trying to get a good shot of that. So you can see where the haul truck comes down that road and into that portal there. So just a couple of neat pictures to acquaint you with the country if you haven't had the chance to be down there. And then the next picture, just a little quad pictures there. You can see one of the mine trucks headed out of the mine, and the orange unit next to it is the drill rig. We take those tunnels and we make them about 40 to 60 feet wide and tall, and we drill holes, and then we knock out about 16 or 17 feet at a whack, pack that with ammonium nitrate and blast it down and haul it out of there. And so that's just some pictures of the inner workings of it. Started ages ago when the old Bouchard boys had the farm, and a little bit of salt mining going on either side of them, and they ended up buying their neighbor's property, and it turns out they were on the biggest deposit right there underneath them. And so ever since the 50s or so, we've been pulling rock out of there and selling quite a bit, starting in the ag market, and it just kind of has blossomed into several things. The next slide, if we're on the one, hopefully this is the food grade products that you're looking at. As most of you probably know, we've got the food grade side too, the Redmond real salt, the Redmond clay, and this year, as you can see on the bottom shelf there, we've taken the old clay jar and we've taken the poultice and put it in a tube so you can squeeze it out. It's ready to use. The baby powders little container there, and then those 3 jars in a row are various pills. We put them in gel caps if people like to take their clay that way instead of messing with having to stir it in. But anyway, just a little display in the office there of the food grade product items with a block and a couple of those natural rocks on top there. Now, Scott asked me to give just an overview. The next slide with that picture of Maynard Murray in the Sea Energy Agriculture book. Just to touch base in case any of you are a little bit newer to this, what sets Redmond apart from the rest of the world, the rest of the salt mines in the world, I should say. There's 2 or 3 across the world that are like ours that we know of, kind of. But it's the mineral content that was left in with the salts when the sea evaporated and settled out ages ago. And for you guys, and particularly even, we've always talked about it for cows too, but for soil and field application, that little Sea Energy book is a really good read and real easy read. It's not very difficult, but Dr. Murray wrote with his experience with using sea minerals on soils too and on plants. He even did some foliar work. But one of the statements from his book, there at the side, the sea is characterized by elements in a liquid crystalloid state defined as crystallizable substance, which when dissolved in a liquid will diffuse readily through vegetable or animal membranes. So what he's saying, and apparent from our field results, is that when animals eat these minerals like this, they're easily dissolvable. They go through the membranes like they should. Animals and plants and whatever can get everything out of them a whole lot better than other forms. The next slide, why the sea minerals. It's pretty interesting in his work and others, as you'll see here in a second, how closely related the mineral profile is of seawater and human blood, or any warm-blooded animal for that matter. And I'm not talking about, hemoglobin and things like that, but just the mineral profile. If you break it down, the next slide, in fact, will show you that, and this comes from Dr. Berger at Illinois, sodium makes up about 93% of the basic mineral element in your blood serum and is the chief cation regulating blood pH. So the rest of that in our blood is about 7%, give or take, of the other elements. And the question, take a guess about what the breakdown of Redmond salt is. It's just like that. It'll range a little bit on the agricultural side, but somewhere in the low 90s of the salt and about 7 or 8% of the other trace minerals. So very interesting, some of the work that he did, and also very interesting that even in spite of our problems and trying to stay out of salt in the world, or we're encouraged to, or at least lower it, we still get a saline infusion when we go into the hospital, and I would never have guessed it to be that high until I started studying it. How much salt is really in our mineral makeup. And then the more that I've learned about humans or animals or soil, it's really, really all similar. What goes on in the rumen of a cow and what goes on in the soil. The soil is to the plant what the rumen is to the cow. And so with that basic introduction, and if I miss anything, Scott, of course, just jump in there, but if I miss anything, with that little bit of introduction, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the soil trials. A couple of years ago, and again, Scott showed this. I'm on the screen now with the BS. That still stands for Bill Stoltz, who's, hey, some crowds I like to protect these guys' names, and so that's why I just use initials on there. I just don't want them to be a target for anything bad. But up in Idaho in 2010, we started this protocol, and as I talk about it, Scott's got a couple of pictures if he chooses to use them. Bill in his place and his cows. But he's got a grazing dairy, and he takes these dairy products. He sells them to himself. He's got his own processing business, and he makes ice cream and butter and cream and whatever. He's got a nice little place for people to come and buy those things in town, but then he also sells a lot of these products to restaurants, high-end restaurants and things like that. So he's very keen on what these cows eat, and he's not organic, but he takes a pretty natural approach to how he produces things because he wants a good, healthy product. And so in 2010, we started this trial on his hay fields. So the protocol that you can see there is we took a control area, of course, where we didn't put anything so we'd have something to measure against. Then we put 4 treatment areas down. One of them had 75 pounds per acre of Redmond conditioner. One of them had 75 of salt. One of them had 75 pounds of each salt and conditioner. And then the last one had 150 pounds of salt. In 2011, we repeated the same treatment on the same areas, with the exception of he didn't get any conditioner out the second year. So the data you're going to see coming up, just bear in mind that the conditioner was only the first-year application. He feels like he cheated himself on this. And on another trial that we did this summer in 2012, I'll show you some of the benefits that I think conditioner is bringing us to. So the next slide is the Brix reading. And if any of you haven't played with Brix, Brix is just it's a French name of a doctor who began to, this method we use, we take a little refractometer, we squeeze plant juice onto its lens, and then you look into it just like a little monocular or a telescope kind of. You just hold it in your hand. It's really easy to do and use in the field. And the Brix reading is a measure of dissolvable stuff in the liquid. A lot of people will call it sugars, but I know it's not just sugars because I can take a saturated solution of Redmond salt water and it'll be off the charts for a Brix reading. It'll be way high. So it's dissolvable stuff in that plant. And so with these treatment groups here, the theory being this was extensively used in the vegetable business and in the brewery business. They use Brix readings all the time because the higher the sugars, the higher the Brix reading, the sweeter the plants, the better they are to eat. So you guys have all eaten an apple or an orange that tasted like cardboard. You've all eaten one that tasted just as sweet as it can be. The one that was sweet probably had a Brix up in the teens or higher, and the one that tasted like cardboard is probably 4 or 5 maybe. So the Brix readings on this field, on Bill's pastures, or this was a grass alfalfa polycultured field that he would cut for hay. And so here's the Brix readings we had. The trick is to not get hung up on what the number is, but just to see the differences across the treatment groups. So it's interesting that the more treatment we put on in this case, the higher the Brix reading. The next slide we measured protein. And on this slide, I went ahead and just compared the 2 years, the same treatment both years. It'll be interesting to notice that the 150 pounds of salt I began to put on the left side, it's interesting to me that the bricks readings are high, but it didn't give us some of the best results as far as protein and TDN and things like that we'll look at. So this is taking plant samples to the lab just to get it like you're doing regular feed analysis is what these numbers are. So again, you can kind of look at there what's going on, but it's interesting that second year of about 75 pounds of salt, how much more crude protein we're looking at versus the control or even the other treatments. So definitely noteworthy. And no, even though I took statistics in college, I did not do full-blown statistics on this. I'm just giving you basic information here, farmer to farmer. The next slide talks about the fiber and the TDN. And on this slide, I won't go, just really briefly in case any of you have a question on what, if you look at the indicators on the right, ADF, NDF, and TDN, just a quick overview. The ADF and NDF were the measures of fiber. One of them is acid detergent fiber, the other is neutral detergent fiber. And so if you look at the blue lines, we'll first look at the red lines, the neutral detergent fiber. In the lab, when you cook that to mimic the rumen of a cow, what you have after that digestion process is the ADF. So you've got the blue line there that shows less fiber than the NDF. And it's just a couple of different readings on the fiber content. The TDN is total digestible nutrients. And so the thing that you want to zero in on this slide, take that far right column, that's the 75 pounds of salt. The difference, these are conversely related. So the lower your fiber numbers, the higher your TDN will be. And you want that. That means there's more good nutrition in the plant for your animals to eat. So the control group, you can see what happened. And by the way, this will be 2010 numbers, so this is only the first year on this one. So there you can kind of see what happened with TDN numbers. And it's interesting that the salt and the conditioner, those two out on the right side there, are pretty interesting to look at, to say the least. The next slide, we took a look at, this is just a mineral that come back on the mineral analysis on the plant tissue in the lab. Interesting to see calcium levels. And you put Redmond salt and Redmond conditioner out there, and you guys know that on paper there's not that much calcium. But what we believe is going on is, since minerals drive enzymatic action and bacteria and all that stuff, what's going on here is these minerals are just waking the microbes up in the soil, and the microbes can take this nutrition and transfer it back and forth to the plant. They call that cation exchange capacity in the soil world. And so we're seeing more of these minerals showing up in the plants, which is a good thing. We didn't have a ton of difference in the phosphorus, as you can see. That one moves pretty hard out here in our country anyway, and phosphorus is one of our problems in Utah anyhow. Magnesium, some nice little increases in magnesium there. The next slide shows some of the traces, boron, zinc, and copper. And again, the boron levels aren't that high in the Redmond products, but they sure set the microbes on fire and make what's available there to the plant. So once again, some interesting little things. The last slide that I have on this study we did in Idaho over those 2 years is we just took the sodium levels, because we all worry about, well, is the sodium going to build up if we use that? I'm just extremely interested that the control group, where they didn't receive any salt or conditioner for those 2 years, has the highest sodium content in the plant. So that was quite interesting to me. I don't think I put it in here, but in the soil tests that we've done so far on that place, and I want to take another one this year. Soil tests don't move very far very fast. You guys probably know that. I'd like to see what it is now. But the fear of soil building up in the plants or in the soil, so far we haven't seen evidence that that's happening. And once again, I think it's back to what Maynard Murray said in that earlier slide. It's because this natural product, with the minerals all in perfect balance, can move through the membranes and through the soil, and microbial life can do what it needs to do with it, and nothing's getting messed up like it does when you just throw plain old sodium chloride or something like that at these things. So that's a little bit of the results we've had there on Bill's place. The next slide we get into Mike's corn and Scott. Do we have Mike with us tonight? Was he on your list there?
Yep, he's on the phone here this evening. Mike, I'm going to unmute your microphone or your telephone there. I think I am.
Okay. Yep.
All right, you're sounding good, Mike. How are you? I guess Mike's sitting on the top of the hill on his way back from Rapid City heading home, so he hasn't been able to see much, but you've been able to hear everything okay, Mike?
Yeah, I've been on since just a little after it started, and I've listened to everything.
Cool. All right, so maybe, Mike, if you can just give us a little bit of a kind of an overview on your trial you did there in Nebraska, and kind of a little bit about soil types and things that you noticed, and I'll try to just kind of click a couple of slides that Aaron has here. So I don't have any pictures of Mike's place to show you, but it's even better having Mike live on the phone. So go ahead, Mike.
Okay. Well, just kind of in a brief overview, we've got four pivots of corn there. They range in size from 112 acres up to about 165. And on the three pivots, we put the salt conditioner mixture on, which was 50% of each. We put it on at approximately 50 pounds per acre. And then on the fourth pivot, which is predominantly the worst pivot of the four that we have, we split it up. We've got a road that goes through it coming in off of the highway, and on the north side of that road is approximately 15 acres, and it's kind of got some rolling hills and pretty much blow sand. It's usually the worst place to grow anything, and even with the irrigated system, why at best it's probably 100 bushels to the acre. So on that 15 acres, while we put the mixture on it, 200 pounds per acre, and then on the south side of the road, we split what was left in half. The one half we didn't put anything on, and then the other half we put on at the 50 pounds per acre like we had on the other three pivots. And that was pretty much our program. It was pretty much all watered the same and fertilized otherwise the same.
Okay, and then on results that you kind of saw there, Mike, and kind of what were your thoughts on that?
Well, the one, of course, with our program this year, we had quite a jump in our production on all the pivots, especially compared to last year, and actually compared to any of the years that we've grown corn there, and we've only owned these pivots since 2008, so we don't have a lot of history, but this was definitely the best year that we've had. And I don't know if it's just the salt or if it was the heat units that we had this year, but we're anxious to continue on with what we're doing and find out for sure. What we did find out this year was that 15 acres on the north side of the road, where we usually don't have much production, we stepped that up and had a yield of approximately 150 bushels per acre, which we thought was really good. Really turned that area that that wasn't real productive into something that was viable and actually, could turn us a profit. On the other two sections of the ground, the one section where we didn't put anything, and then the other section where we put it on at 50 pounds per acre, we probably seen probably 10 bushels per acre difference. But I know that Brett had measured the bricks, and we've seen a real big difference between the treated ground and that we didn't put anything on. The other pivots had the same amount of increase as a whole. Probably, we're usually, last year we did 120 on an average. The best we've done is 150, and this year we did closer to 180. So that's a real improvement for us.
Okay, excellent. Let's see. I saw Brett was on here. I don't see him on. Let's see. Yeah, I guess I'm not sure how to get over to Brett there. But so when they did the bricks reading, and they did just some tests around on the different areas, and it was not quite double over the commercial fertilizer, but it was definitely quite an increase on with sea mineral and volcanic ash. And once again, we don't have overly statistically accurate scientific data here, but we do definitely have some indicators that things are going in the right direction. So, okay, I've got a question, Mike, for you here, just real quick from Dr. Abe Schaefer's on the phone. He's with Agri-Best Feeds as well. And Abe, are you able to hear me? Nope.
Hi, Mike.
Okay, Abe, are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead, Abe. You can ask your question to Mike there.
Right. My question is, on the Redmond salt applications, or even with the mineral 2, or the clay, do you have any indication of what soil organic matter is? If you look at those soils, do you see any difference there that you might attribute to soil organic matter?
I don't, just looking at it visually, I cannot tell by looking at it, but I know that we do take a soil sample each year, and they just took a soil sample here just probably a week ago. So hopefully that'll give us a little bit more information, and where it's something that we're doing each year, maybe we can see a increase in the nutrients and so forth, and the residual with the clay, whatever might be there.
Right. My expectation is that if, as soil bacteria do their job better, there's certainly more of them, and that's the most significant contributor to soil organic matter is bacterial cell mass. So one of the questions I'm anxious to see how that works out. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. The one other thing I would say about when we went to put the product on is our original plan was to put it in the boxes on the planter to kind of go in or to go on when they planted the seed, but the custom farmer that we used didn't have that on his planter. So we ended up going a little different direction. So when they came and put on the dry fertilizer, we went ahead and mixed the salt in with that and had it applied. There was some problem putting it on that way because they said there was some chemical reaction between the two products and was difficult to put on. So we're going to be looking at something different way or a different product to put it on with as a dry for next year. The 15 acres on the north side of the road that we did with the poor ground, we did put it on with a pull behind spreader that we got from the co-op, and that was really the only things that we did different and the kind of stuff we saw when we were trying to apply it.
Okay. Excellent. Well, thanks a lot, Mike. And I'm going to, I'm going to give everybody on this screenshot, if you go down into this private chat, and if you've got any questions for Mike, hopefully Mike will be able to sit on the hill here for a couple more minutes as we finish the presentation. And then if you have questions for him specifically, if you can, on the private chat, on there should be one that says to all organizers, presenters, something like that. You can either type one in there, or you can type one to Justin Mills, our host and moderator, and he'll kind of keep track of that. And when we get to the question and answers times, we'll grab those so Mike will be able to get down the road as soon as he's done there. The other thing, back on your start screen, if you do have questions and would like to, if you're just on voice over internet, you can hear us, but we can't hear you, so you'll have to chat. Or when we get to the point of question and answers, just go and you'll dial this number in, whatever is on your screen on the Start tab, and the passcode, which is on your screen on the Start tab. Don't dial these numbers, but you can get in that way. So I think anything else at this point, Mike, or shall we continue on?
I had one more thing.
Okay.
With kind of what we saw with some of the plants as the co-op checked them through the summer, and towards the end we felt like we're getting a good, I don't know if you want to call it a substitute, but we're getting a good potash substitute with the Redmond salt mineral that we're putting on, and that's probably one thing we're going to cut out of our fertilizer program for this next year is the potash, and see how we get along, and we know that we're going to be having some added savings by going with the blend, the Redmond salt and conditioners compared to the potash.
All right. Excellent. Anything, Aaron, anything else on that particular trial that you'd like to mention or question?
No, I think he covered that pretty good.
That's excellent. All right. Well, the next one is another trial that Agri-Best Feeds actually helped oversee, and that was Gary Gackel. And let's see, Mike, I'm going to mute your microphone, and Abe, mute yours again. Okay. This is a trial in eastern Montana on dryland wheat, and I just wanted to show you a couple of pictures on that. So this is in early July. You can see this. Get my spotter back on. This line right here is the difference in the trial. And so on one side you have commercial fertilizer, 1152, and 50 pounds of 1152. And on the right side is your 50 pounds of he did 2/3 volcanic ash and 1/3 of the sea mineral, and he ran this in through with his air drill. So this row right here has 1152. This 50 pounds of 1152. This has 50 pounds of that volcanic ash sea mineral mix. And just another look at that. Sammy Higgs photography took some pictures of that. He's one of the guys that works with us, and he does a great job. there's Sammy on the left, and I'm on the right, just kind of showing the difference between the two products there, or the trial and the control. And this is some pictures from harvest. Once again, this is on the left is your commercial fertilizer, on your right is the sea mineral. Another look of that. And this is the inside his combine on this. This was a test plot, and with the 1152 and at 35 bushels per acre. And just a couple more pictures of the combine, kind of fun out there. And then the 39 bushels per acre on this side of the field. So some excellent results, and on that, once again, indicators, and I guess we'll kind of talk through that one a little bit. Both treatments, or both sites, had 85 pounds of urea nitrogen put on, and now I guess I'll turn that back over to you. You want to go ahead and talk through these slides on the revenue and cost per acre on that, or do you want me to talk about that?
Oh, whatever you want, Scott. Whatever you want. I just compiled these from the information that these guys gathered up and put it in a little chart there so you could kind of just compare side by side. Makes it a little easier to look at. Basically,
input cost is, the commercial fertilizer was about $700 per ton, and the sea mineral was $327 per ton, and so the kind of his input costs went down, the revenue went up, and so I ended up picking up, I think it was about $35 an acre, somewhere in there, with everything all told there. So, and this just graphs that same information there. Bushels went from on this particular test, bushels went from 35 bushels an acre to 39, or 39. Sorry about that. And that's about a 15% increase. The once again, the fertilizer cost was greatly reduced there. Test weight went up a little bit. Now this particular one, his protein went down. So that's something that he wants to kind of keep track of and do some more trials on his own farm there, and just see how I guess he can kind of maximize all of these things. So yes, that's the end on that. Here's another graph on the crude protein, your bushels, and your test weight. And I'll turn it back over to you, Aaron, for this Oklahoma pasture trial.
Okay. And before we leave that, I think I remember you saying, Scott, on that wheat, in fairness to the trial, it ended up being two varieties of wheat, the Soren and the Vita, if I'm pronouncing those right. So there might be differences in that, maybe not. This particular year, in spite of the lower protein, we still had, as you saw in that other slide, the increase in the revenue because of the test weight. But so that's not a perfect trial, but still interesting to gather up that information. On that. Oh, go ahead.
On that part of that, I'm trying to get back to the right picture here. And we can't quite see it on that one. So this is Soren. Oh, I've got to push the button. This is Soren here. This is Soren. So most or some of the trial was Soren, and then right up here, he ran out of that particular seed, and then went to the Vita for the rest of this pass up and back. So that is correct. But that's, you can kind of see where that changed a little bit there. All right, we'll get back to the Oklahoma one.
Okay, and this is the last one we'll talk about tonight, so if anybody's getting antsy, we're almost there. Henry Cattle Company down in Oklahoma. Again, just a grass, beef cow grazer. So this was pasture that we looked at on this one. Same fashion kind of that we did in Idaho. The control group, 50 pounds each of Redmond, I guess I should call it seed minerals and volcanic ash, like Scott does. And then 100 pounds, and then, let's see, 50 pounds Redmond salt and conditioner per acre together. I've got that twice there, sorry. And then 100 pounds of just the salt. And the reason we chose these amounts, I guess I should back up on that just a little bit. We've chosen to study somewhere in this neighborhood of pounds per acre because a lot of the natural and organic guys in the Midwest, they started coming to us, and when they went off with conventional fertilizer, their soil reports and everything they were balancing by started calling for about 100 pounds an acre of salt in that part of the country. So when we played a little bit in the West with that, a little bit on Bill's Place and some other guys that we've had play with this stuff over the years, we found that out here in the West, where it's more arid and alkaline, we only probably can tolerate about half the amount that the guys in the Midwest can. So out here, we're getting to talk more about this 40 pounds, like on a couple of these trials Agri-Best did with us, and then, maybe 50 pounds, a lot lower amounts. But that's where these amounts kind of got established from. And with the volcanic ash, or Redmond conditioner, we've kind of just seen it just about as much as a guy wants to put down. We haven't seen that we can put too much there because there's just not the salt in the product. So the next slide, and I might even be able to take that from you, Scott. I don't know. I'm looking at your screen now, so I think my internet phone woke up or something. But anyway, the next screen.
I'll give you the floor. Go ahead.
Oh, if I got it, we'll try that. Okay, the next one there, same thing. We just clipped, had him clip Gene's name. He clipped the plant tissue. We sent that off to the lab and had it analyzed. So the crude protein and the soluble protein off of that soil report came back, and here's the numbers there that you're looking at. And you can kind of digest those for a second. This is another one where we definitely saw some advantage over the control areas by putting some treatments. So part of our continuing studies are going to be to try and zero in on the different kinds of farms and the different amounts to use, because we're not quite there yet. So this guy, you can see right off the bat that he's leaning pretty heavy this next year of coming in at about 50 pounds of salt and 100 pounds of conditioner for volcanic ash, as you'll see there. So there's the protein numbers. The next slide is just the protein on a bar chart, so you can take a look at that just as a comparison. Same numbers. This screen is a look at calcium, phosphorus, and magnesium again. Nothing earth-shattering on this. Sometimes we hope to see a little bit more, but it is what it is. Those phosphorus numbers are quite similar to what we see in our hays up here in Utah, our pastures and hays, so that's pretty interesting. Not a whole lot of difference in the calcium. In fact, control had the most in this case, so that was interesting. Just charted the same numbers. Probably looks better on the table that you just saw. You remember our ADF, NDF, and TDN relationships. Once again, we're looking for higher TDN numbers and lower of the two fiber numbers. So he was pretty pleased to see the salt and conditioner combinations, particularly. I've got that dang thing listed twice on there. I apologize, guys. I'm going to go back and see where I made my mistake. That would have to be just the conditioner. One of those has got to be just conditioner. I am so sorry about that. I'll get that fixed. So there's your fiber numbers. But at any rate, it's pretty obvious that between 52, 53% on the control up into the mid to upper 50s in a feed sample, that's significant. So there's your bar chart to show the same. Once again, you're looking for a spread with the green being the TDN. You're looking for more of that and less fiber. NEL and RFV. The NEL is the net energy for lactation. And usually you'll get a net energy for gain and for maintenance on the test. I can't remember now if those were tested or not. But at any rate, obviously the higher the number, the more energy you have for performance for the cow. Relative feed value, you guys have all seen that. And once again, being pasture grass, these are numbers that you'd probably expect on an average pasture down there. So again, he's pretty excited about looking at it, from the cost standpoint. He's looking at 50 pounds of salt, 100 pounds of volcanic ash there for next year. He wants to do a little more playing with that. So we'll probably do a little more work on his farm and then get a couple other farms and maybe some new farms to try some of this on as well. There's just the bar chart again on relative feed value, so you can kind of see it in perspective that way. The last slide for the night is, this is not statistics driven here, but I gave this presentation back east a couple weeks ago, or a similar one, and I just kind of took an average of what we're seeing between these trials and others, of some of the improvements in the plant tissues as we analyze them after treatments. And just in a general way, don't get hung up on these numbers, but just in a general way, most of the time, other than that dryland wheat situation, we're seeing a modest average of, crude protein increases, TDN increases, the mineral profile, net energy, relative feed value, bushels, Brix readings. The pictures on this slide, you might have seen a year or two ago on a different one, but Steve Campbell up in Idaho was growing some turnips for grazing in the winter for his cattle. He's a grass guy, grass beef finisher. And he was actually, he's been studying Maynard Murray, that Sea Energy Agriculture book I showed you earlier. And he's been playing around with high application rates, because in that book Dr. Murray did, to try and breed some disease resistance into the plant. One of the things Dr. Murray did was planted different application, or corn with different application rates of the sea minerals, clear up to about a ton an acre. After about 15, and then he put a corn blight disease on all of them. And I can't remember, I'll have to look back in the book, but it seems like it was somewhere around 1,000 pounds. He got total disease resistance from that. And from 1,000 down, there was varying degrees clear down to the treatment, which totally just, overtook the corn. So Steve here was trying to do similar type of things, and he's still experimenting too, but he's been doing it for several years. But the picture on the right is the turnips that he has about 300 pounds of Redmond salt, or the sea minerals, per acre. When he told me this story versus the control on the left, he said, yeah, they were, instead of averaging 2 or 3 inches, they were more like 4 or 5 inches in diameter. But that's not what he was really looking for. But I thought, holy Moses, that's pretty significant there. He didn't measure the yields or anything like that, but he did take those pictures, which I thought was pretty interesting. So that's one that we did, or he did a couple of years back. So with that, that's kind of I guess just to summarize this with those numbers you see on the right there, just the general idea that we've at least done enough work now in enough areas of the country, and thanks to Agri-Best and their help to do it in these areas, Mike and Gary's places, and you guys for being willing to do that. We're still learning, but so far, wherever in the country we try this, we seem to get some benefit out of this, and we're going to continue to try to understand it and refine it. And so that's pretty much what we've got for tonight. So if there's any other comments from you guys that were involved in these or questions from the rest of you, that's where I'll leave it at.
All right. Well, thanks, Aaron. And I believe we also have some other panelists on. Is that correct, Scott? Was there some other panelists that maybe want to add some comments before we get into our question and answer period?
Well, I want to just connect with a couple of guys there. Dr. Abe Schaefer will kind of unmute his mic and have him say something. I also see Wendell Mickelson on this evening, and he's a Redmond rep and a great guy, connected and does a lot of work with dairies and on the cattle side. He doesn't have his mic, so we're not able to go to him. Wendell, I guess if you have any comments and want to go into your Start tab and call in on the phone if you have any comments or thoughts that you would like to add, we do appreciate you being on. And, of course, once again, you can chat with Justin privately to ask questions in your chat log there, or if you would like to ask questions to any of the presenters or panelists, you can dial your phone number and whatever your passcode is there. And so I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Dr. Schaefer will let you say what you've got there, and then we'll go back to Justin for the question and answers.
Thanks, Scott. One of the things that has been fascinating to me in reflecting on the Redmond products and this approach to optimizing yield, whether that's hay or feeding quality of hay, silages, just think down the line. But from an agronomic perspective, one of the things that in my mind has been overlooked and continues to be overlooked is soil microbial health. And we know from, or Redmond knows from a variety of experiences that the sea minerals have a pretty interesting impact on microbial metabolism. Not that there's one specific mineral that does that better than another, but this overall balance is one of the critical pieces there. And understanding that and seeing these kinds of results, I think, increase the importance of soil bacteria. And I think we need to, as agriculture folks, we need to understand that better and work to enhance what bacteria and soil can do for us.
All right, thanks a bunch, Dr. Schaefer, and very interesting the connection kind of from the ruminant nutrition to what's actually happening there in the soil and some of those similarities, and especially that microbial population. So, Justin, I'll turn it back to you to answer some questions. I do see a question that came out just on the public one there by Bob Demereth down in Plainview, Nebraska, and Red is able to do a mixtures for you. Normally we do the sea minerals, we do like a 50-50 mix or a 2/3, 1/3, something like that, where we don't want to get kind of crazy on that, but they can do some simple blends like that. Is that correct, Aaron?
Yes, that's right. and those are available. So all you got to do is get it on the Agri-Best truck, and we can put that in totes or send a bulk load or whatever. But yes, we do that.
All right. Well, that excuse me, that kind of concludes our formal presentation part, but we're going to open it up for questions there right now. And as Scott kind of mentioned earlier, easy way for you to go in to ask any questions is go down into that chat area. You can either post it in the public area, or you can also ask a question to us directly, any of us directly as well, and we'll know that you have a question. If you're on the cell phone, you want to ask your question as well, you can raise your hand. There's a status question. You see a little hand up at the very top part of the screen. If you kind of click that, we'll know you got a question, and we can go to you as well. But we do want to give everybody an ample opportunity here tonight to ask any questions that you might have to Aaron or any of our panelists as well. So please feel free to do that. While you're thinking of your questions, though, I do want to kind of point out just a couple things, and I'm going to kind of take over the screen here real quick. And I believe if you can see on your screen right now, you're going to see the website for agribestfeeds.com, and it's a good way that you can go in and kind of get up to speed and what's going on at Agri-Best Feeds and a lot of their different products that they carry and distribute out across their different dealers. And, of course, in that is also the place, if you click on the Resources tab, you can go into the upcoming webinars. Not only can you see what we've got coming down the pike, but you can also scroll down through there, and at the very bottom of that screen, you will see an opportunity to look at any previous webinars, view any of those, listen to those that we've had as well. So I do encourage you to do that. And, of course, if you kind of want to also know what's always going on with Agri-Best Feeds, make sure you also get signed up for their newsletter as well. But at this point, we do want to give everybody an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have out there. Ty Wingert did ask a question, wanted to know if it was possible to get a copy of these slides, shows, and studies with a bit more details regarding the protocols followed from each of these trials.
We'll give Ty a call or whoever has interest. We're working on putting this stuff into kind of a compiled type of a thing that can be used for you guys that need to go out in the field and talk about it like that. So we're still working on making a nice presentable compilation that way. But we can get with Ty and get some stuff in his hands for that.
Okay.
You can also, on that web page right there, up in the upper right-hand corner where it says contact, if you want to send a contact and request that, you can contact that through Agri-Best Feeds there. So we'd be more than happy to get those into your hands. And this recording will be on the archived website as well, so just for your information there.
All right. I don't want to rush everybody off here tonight, but we want to give everybody opportunity to ask any questions. And thanks, Ty, for asking. And again, like you said, you can go to the website. If you don't have phone numbers or contact information, you can go fill out their contact form there right at their website. So simple to do. So thanks for being on, too, as well. Again, just a reminder that you're going to see Agri-Best Feeds out and about in the region here in the next few weeks or so as they're around. Going to be up at the Maggie in Great Falls this weekend. Is that correct, Scott?
Yes, Daryl will be up at the Maggie show, and then we've got the Mate show coming up that we'll be at, and I will be down in Nebraska for the Cattlemen's Classic down there in February.
All right, so there you go. 3 locations: Great Falls, Montana at the Maggie Show, at Billings, Montana at the Montana Agri-Trade Exposition, and, of course, down in Nebraska as well. So make sure if you're around in those regions, stop in, take a look at visit with them as well. And if you're just joining us tonight, kind of wanting a little bit more information about the product, stop in. It's a great opportunity to take a first-hand look at the product and visit with them right there, or any of the dealers that are there at the booth as well. Again, we want to give everybody opportunity for any questions that might be out there. Jonathan Carlson wants to know, has anyone ever tried to dissolve the salt in water?
The answer is yes. Lots of people have done this foliarly, and so they put the salt into tote that drips into the pivot, or they've thrown it in an irrigation pond that, flows down to the irrigation system, or put it in a sprayer. Any of the above have been tried. The thing I'll tell you about doing it into water, however, is with the sea minerals, the salt, there's just that little bit of fallout that if you have small spray nozzles or, some of those diaphragm pumps or something, that has caused a few people some trouble. So if you're going to dissolve this in the water, it's probably better to put it into a tank, do your dissolving, let it sit for 24 hours, and then what you're really going to do if you do very much of this is put the tank valve up off the floor of the tank so that then you can drain all the water off and not get the solids into your spray system. That's the safest way to do that and save yourself any headache. When you foliar apply, you probably, take a hayfield or a pasture, for example, a perennial growing crop that you keep harvesting, whether by machine or animal. You probably want to spray it on at about 3 or 4 pounds an acre all, so you don't overwhelm the plants when you're putting that directly onto those plants like that. So you would take, if you have a spray system and you're going to do it that way, you can put it in. If you can spray out 20, 25 gallons an acre, just put your 3 or 4 pounds that way. So it just use your imagination on that. But yes, you can do it. Just be aware of the little bit of fallout if you got a sensitive spray system.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan. If you have more questions, just type that out, and we'll continue on to that subject. That's a great question as well. Again, I want to give everybody opportunity here for any questions you might have. Put on your calendar the next webinar coming up on February 5th. That's a Tuesday. That'll be a cattle-based webinar, similar to the one we had last week as well, as we're in that time of the year where I know some folks in parts of the country already calving, already going to have calves on the ground by February 5th, where other folks still a few months out. But nevertheless, we're in the mindset of winter feeding and also kind of that even starting to look ahead to that breeding and getting good nutrition and various things for that breeding time of the year as well. But I do want to give you an opportunity here tonight for any questions you might have. As I pointed out to you, the website that we've got there is at the top of the website, and I think you can probably, I'm not sure if you can see my screen right now, but at the top of that website, you're going to see the toll-free number. If you have any questions about the products, do get a hold of your dealer that may have invited you to tonight's webinar. Also, our sponsor, of course, is Agri-Best Feed. You can give them a call at their world headquarters in Billings, Montana at 866-601-6646. And that's their toll-free phone number. They'd love to visit with you about any questions you might have, whether it's about the Redmond mineral products that we've been talking about tonight, or the Sweet Pro products. Yeah, they've got as well a variety of things. So feel free to give them a call. Sweet Pro, the Equilix for the livestock, for the cattle, and just a lot of products there that are very good, very natural in this day and age when that's very key to folks in the mindset of our consumers out there. But again, don't want to rush you off too much here tonight. I don't see too many questions out there, and so I'm going to kind of circle back through some of our panelists that were joining us here tonight, and then I'll wrap up, allow Aaron some final comments as well. So Dr. Schaefer, you were on here tonight as well. I'm going to give you here maybe a chance to kind of get ready to go, but if you'd like, I'm going to give you an opportunity here maybe to ask them or to add some final comments to tonight's webinar.
Sure. Again, just to restate what I mentioned before, soil bacteria, I think, does a lot more or actually does more for agricultural production than a lot of the fertilizers that we normally use. And so the Redmond products are interesting and in a unique segment or place for how they can be useful because we're actually helping the bacteria that are in soil. That's what we're doing. And understanding that is somewhat of a open question at this point, but we know that it's extremely valuable, and it's just exciting to see information come in that's showing that value. So, thanks.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Schaefer, for joining us. And Scott, is there some final comments we want to do? As I said before, I do want to thank Agri-Best Feeds, your sponsor of tonight's webinar, for doing this. They've been doing these webinars for several years now, and they're quite educational, and we want to truly thank them for continuing to do this. An educational component, not only to their distributors, but to dealers, but to folks out there that have an interest as well. And Scott, some comments here tonight as we get wrapped up.
Well, thanks a lot, Justin, and thanks for your excellent job there as host and moderator. We appreciate that as always. Aaron, great presentation. It's great to work with you guys there at Redmond. Wendell, we appreciate you being on and look forward to working with you in the future. Dr. Schaefer, thanks so much for your comments and participation this evening. Mike Henderson, great job on the presentation. Thanks for doing the trial down there, and we look forward to more trials going on. So one of the things that we're working on right now at Agri-Best is putting together a kind of a sheet of kind of what the different things are. We've got different crops, different areas of the country, different soil types, and all those different things. And what we would like to do is we've got enough indicators that are pointing to reducing some costs and improving revenues, improving production, and we would love to see maybe 100 more tests going on this next year. And so if you want to contact us, you can contact us there from the website and just mention, hey, I'd be interested in getting some information on doing a trial. And we're just looking for, like say, different crops, different settings, but would like things that are just side by side where we get the same environment, same water, same basic soil types, and being able to do comparisons and then continue to compile this, because this is something that is we're just very excited about the possibilities that are out there, and the improved quality for the soil and also for the plants, and whether that's being grazed or harvested crops. We're just really excited to see what the future is going to be like with that. So I appreciate that, and I guess Mike, I guess he's still on the hillside there. I'll go ahead and unmute your mic there if you have any final comments before Justin wraps things up.
What I would like to finish with is, I'm really excited about this product too. It's I agree that it's a product that actually is productive for the soil, actually does things to the soil to make it more useful to the plants. Sometimes we put on fertilizers and the chemicals, and that it can't be good to the living part of what's there on the ground and in the ground. So we're excited to do it, and really appreciative that Redmond Salt has helped us kind of start the trial last year, and looking forward to what it's going to look like going forward with our soil fertility and the things that we'll be able to do to help raise our crops and cut down on our inputs.
All right. Thanks, Mike. And, of course, Aaron, we do thank you for joining us as well. And maybe some final comments to all of our folks joining us here tonight.
Yep, thanks for having me. It's good to be with you again. Just one last thought to tag on to what Dr. Schaefer was talking about. At our farm, we've done a soil food web analysis before. They're a little bit spendy, but we can certainly incorporate that into what we're studying here. The thought that I'll give, which I totally agree with, microbial life, and it doesn't matter if it's yours in my gut or a cow's rumen or the soil, is where it's at. That's what keeps everything going. The best from some of the guys that have done a lot of this, and I listened to one of the professors at the University of Idaho give this a couple of years ago. The best recipe that I've ever seen for the soil is organic matter and Redmond minerals, and that's been echoed several times. In fact, these people have helped me to develop that opinion. And the hard part is, it's easy if you've got a small place. You can spread your manure out of the feedlot or whatever. You can feed cows on the range in the winter, whatever you can do to build up organic matter. But even on a bigger scale, even 10 pounds of molasses or sugar or some kind of carbon source to give the microbial life a little bit of a boost too, to create that atmosphere. Anything organic matter-wise that can go on the soil with these minerals is just as good as anything I've ever seen. So with that, thanks again, you guys. Appreciate being with you tonight.
Well, thanks, Aaron. We sure appreciate you joining us here tonight. We want to thank everybody for being here with us as well. As I said earlier, you can go to their website, www.agribestfeeds.com, if you'd like to have more information about some of the products that we talked about tonight, or if you'd like to look at some of the previous webinars we have, stay on kind of on touch with what's going on. You can sign up for their newsletter. Give them a call at their world headquarters in Billings again at 866-601-6646. Our next webinar coming up on Tuesday, February 5th. That'll be at 7 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. It'll be a cattle-focused webinar. We invite you to join us for that. Also, be sure to look for Agri-Best feeds if you're around Great Falls, Montana, Billings, Montana, or down in Nebraska at the events that they've got. They're going to be going with their trade booth. Visit with them there, and they're going to be at those locations as well. We want to thank Agri-Best Feeds for sponsoring tonight's webinar. And again, we'll see you at the next one coming up on Tuesday, February 5th. On behalf of Agri-Best Feeds, we thank you for joining us. My name is Justin Mills. We'll see you on the next one.